What we're going to do is we're going to go over the infographic task that had been put up. Now, this PowerPoint goes through step by step. First, the different types of graphs and charts. Second, exemplar infographic publication and what an infographic is. And then it goes through your task. So, what is an infographic? An infographic is a visual representation of information or data, e.g. as a chart or diagram. So an infographic is, if you separate the word, it is a graphic filled with information. Okay? So, graphs and charts from how we use them. Graphs and charts make statistics easier to read. Graphs and charts can highlight important parts of the data. They make it easier to read and understand. So I could give you a 20-page document full of just information using words. But 9 times out of 10, nobody is really inclined to read it. So what they want is they want it shortened down in a more visual way. That there is what your graphs and charts are for. So your 4 main types are a line graph, a pie chart, a table, and a bar chart. A pie chart usually shown as a circle, which represents a whole number, and it is divided into segments to illustrate different percentages. You do not use them if there's too much information because their sections will be too thin. If you have 40 different bits of information, you would not use a pie chart because you won't be able to see it clearly in the pie. So, do not use a shape that is difficult to divide up accurately. So, don't use a triangle because a lot of the time you can usually split a triangle up into 3 because it has 3 corners, but after that there's not really an accurate way of separating it, so it's equal. A bar chart is a row of bars showing values vary over time or to illustrate how different values compare to each other. Use a bar chart when you want to highlight individual figures rather than overall percentage. What that would mean is, so red, 8 children like red, but 9 children like yellow. And it's very clear to see the difference between each of the colours. Do not make a bar chart when it requires loads of bars because it makes it too hard to follow. Again, same rules applies with the pie chart. You do not want to have 20 different bars going across because your head is just going to be like, what am I looking at? Which bar do I look at first? And you'll never be able to understand it. If the overall flow of figures is more important than individual values, do not use a bar chart. So a bar chart basically summarises everything up. It doesn't give you all the in-depth figures. It just tells you straight away which one's more important or which one's more popular, which one's more expensive than others. It's a comparison tool. A line graph is usually used to show figures plotted over a period of time. The x-axis represents the time of passing, the y-axis represents amount and quantities. Use a line graph when it's important to show a gradual change in figures over time. Do not use a line graph when some values are tiny and others are large. If I say wanted to figure out the difference in sales of an iPhone between the year 2000 and the year 2020, I would probably use a line graph because it'd be going up and down. That's 20 years of information, 20 years of figures that I'd need to worry about, and that they would be put on a line graph. So say you were comparing house prices. Now, on one end of the scale, you can get a house for quite cheap or a flat for quite cheap and it's not that expensive. But then on the other side, you can get a mansion. Now, those are polar opposite amounts, polar opposites in scale. So a line graph wouldn't really show that because then this axis would end up being so small and have so many different lines that there'd be no point in having it. However, a table displays numbers of words in rows and columns. A table is used when the individual figures rather than the overall flow is the most important. So this one would be used for when you've got 20 different bits of information that you want to get across. Use a table when comparing numbers that are too far apart to be shown on a chart. Use tables when you want to illustrate very large and precise information. Do not use a table when you can use other types of charts. This here is your last resort, and 9 times out of 10, you do not use a table when you are creating a promotional graphic with information because it visually doesn't look very nice. We then go to infographic publications that have already existed. Now these are so important to look at. This is a bar chart. This gives you different amounts of business stuff, but it's a bar chart. It's got it front ways and it's got it 3D. Now what they've done is they've taken the boring bars and they've tried to sort of spice it up a little bit. The one below that, you've then got pie charts. Now they've used different variants of pie charts in it. They've also, at the bottom, got bar charts. But instead of using the bars again, they've got house heights. And you can see that they're higher and lower than one another. Quite clearly this little green one is smaller than the making music one. Okay? So, you've got this one for McDonald's Monopoly. We've all seen McDonald's Monopoly before. This here is full of different information on it, but it's tried to lay it out in a more graphical way than just putting information on a page. This one here, Infographic of Infographics. Great one. So, pie chart, pictorial chart, line chart, bar chart. All these different ways of creating bar charts. This one, it's talking about a sandwich. It's very American, peanut butter and jelly, but it has separated it into a pie chart on the side. It has clearly stated which bit is which. This, the colour that they've used here, links to this, so you can see it. Even if you weren't to look at that, you'll be able to see which one's which. You are tasked to create your own infographic publication like these. You have been given a brief. You've been asked to design and make a graph to show the most popular toy sales at Christmas time. You should have 2 annotated ideas with justification about why they would be suitable. Each idea should be done on an A4 page with the design A5 in size. Research different types of graphs before deciding on the type you will use. Look at images of graphs which I've used in magazines and newspapers. I've then broken it down for you. The first thing you do, you're going to work your way across. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to research. You're going to research the most popular toy sales at Christmas. Now, I have already done that. I have got all my research down a column on an A3 sheet of paper. Now, what I've done is I've listed the top 6. I think I found about 20. And all I typed in was most popular toys at Christmas for 2020. Because 2020 wasn't even a month ago, it won't give you exact numbers of how many were sold at Christmas because those numbers haven't been collated yet. What they will tell you, however, is which ones are deemed to be the most popular in order and the price of them. I personally took them in order. I took the top 6 and I took their price and I noted them down. Because I've only got 6 bits of information and I've got 6 prices, I then narrowed it down, my options for chart or graph, to a pie chart and a bar chart. Research done. I'm going to ignore it for now. I've not came to a decision which one I want to use because I can use either one. But I've got my bits of information and I've got my decisions of, right, I've narrowed it down. I'm not going to use a line graph and I'm not going to use a table. Simple. So I've chosen the most effective graph and chart that will be used in the publication. Done that. Research images that you can use in your publication. Research images that you can use in your publication. I personally drew my own images, but that's just because I can. You would then go and find images and save them to a folder on your PC or computer or whatever, pen drive. Then create 2 thumbnails for your layout, for the layout of your publication, and annotate them. I want them annotated. I need it annotated. I need 2 thumbnails. I went and created 2 thumbnails and annotated them. Thumbnail 1. Now these aren't anything spectacular. They don't have any colour on them. They are quick thumbnails. This did not take me long. So thumbnail 1. What I've done is I've then took a bar chart and I went, right, what am I going to do? So I've got a heading going across the top. My background's going to be snow. You've got to remember this has got to have some form of theme to it. We're not going to do it bubblegum pink and yellows and summery colours, because to me and to most people on the planet, that there comes across as summery colours, not winter colours. So I've said background snow. This here's my bar chart of toys. The bars will be made of present boxes. So instead of just having the bars going up, I'm going to create them out of presents. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but that's what I've said I'm going to do. I'm going to create bullet points are snowflakes to unify the background. list of toys. So my background is snow, but what I haven't written down is my background colour would also be blue. So what I've said is I've got my list of toys down the side, my 6 toys that I've researched, they go down the side. Pops of orange and bar chart and heading to contrast with the background and the presents. So already my presents are then going to be sort of a bluey tone. 1 is done. I've spoken about unity, I've spoken about contrast, I've spoken about colour. Very simple. I'm not looking for the most detailed annotations in the world. I'm just looking for some sort of knowledge and understanding of desktop publishing terms and your elements and your principles. So, moving on to my thumbnail 2. Thumbnail 2. I've then got a pie chart because I thought, you know what, I'm going to see how it looks with both. Pie chart is a Christmas pie, so it's literally going to be a pie of a pie. I've got my heading, it says Christmas gifts on it. The background would be a wood effect with holly. The colour scheme would be red, green and gold for contrast. It also conveys a very Christmas theme. Here's my list of toys. My bullet points are going to be made out of Christmas baubles. I've got a red ribbon with a bow for the heading, so it'll flow across like a bow. Okay, again, very Christmassy, but both thumbnails are very different to each other. The first thing you want to do is you want to have your research on the sheet. That is not a lot of research. It's bullet point in the top 6 most popular toys that I had found. Then graph and chart which ones do I want to narrow it down to. Thumbnails. I then decided after I'd done all this, right, how am I actually going to display this information? How am I going to show it off? And I then decided I'm going to display the findings in price order. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pair each other to the price of them. And the reason I did that is because, like I said, I don't know how many were sold at Christmas because Christmas was only a month ago. But what I do know is I do know the variant in price. So I'm going to compare them price-wise. What I did from then is I picked which thumbnail I wanted. I wanted thumbnail 1. I then went and created it on PowerPoint. This is what I came up with. This took me 20 minutes. This here is not the most amazing thing in the world. However, it has all the points I was talking about in the first place. So I've got my Christmas gifts up the top. I've then got my list down the bottom. I've got my bar chart going across the side. And I've done it with the presents. I personally made the background myself. I made the presents myself. I made the snowflake myself, but you can go and create them from Google. I just had the means to draw it myself. What I did is, instead of filling up all underneath my bar chart with the words, with saying Barbie, 3-in-1 Dream Camper, Lego Harry Potter Hedwig, and sort of squashing all this information and making it look really, really cluttered, I colour coded them with the snowflakes. So the colours that go along there match along there. It's price up the top, product along the side. What you will need is you'll need a little synopsis of saying what you've done and what you're going to do. So I researched the most popular toys for Christmas in 2020 and these are the top 6 ranked by price. I need to change that. Now, what I did is I put everything pretty basic on. Then I went, right, what do I need? I needed some sort of effect on it. So I put an outer shadow on all of these presents to make them look like some were sitting in front of the other. So they weren't just combining one another. I then did the same for the snowflakes because they were sort of merging in with the background and blending. You couldn't really see them. So I gave them an outer shadow. I gave little flash bars behind each of my little points for my 6 products. I gave a little... I put a shape behind my text. I put a colour block behind my text to make the text stand out. And I put a drop shadow on my text in my heading to make that stand out. I stuck with my colours. I said I wanted a sort of orangey colour to start with. However, when I'd done it, I went, it's looking very Iron Brew-like. Yes, I know Iron Brew is very popular at Christmas, but that's not the theme that I was going for. So then I went down the more gold route. Now, to me, blues and golds work very well together, and they also contrast, so it's breaking up the page. I could have done this where it was all blues and all whites, but what happens then is it becomes very monochromatic and nothing really stands out from the page. Now here, clearly, you can see which ones are more expensive than others. Now, I personally, even though I've done this, I'm not the happiest with how this looks. So what I would do is I'd go and change little things afterwards. However, I need to have, I think that there is a very, very good one to start with. It's got all the things that I said I was going to do in it. It's followed all the details from my thumbnail. And I have added stuff to make it better. It's not exactly the same. This box wasn't here to begin with. These presents weren't originally meant to be sitting like that. They were meant to sort of be long stretched presents, which I could still do. I was meant to have information all down here, but I didn't put that in because it looked pretty cluttered. I made loads of decisions based off of what we already know of graphics. I hope this clears some things up for you. So what we're looking for is research. Now, you might end up with different toys to one another depending on what source you get. I know some people have got other ones, some people have got Xboxes and stuff. I went for more very, very children's toys. You could go for teenagers' toys. I then broke down to what graph or chart I would want. I broke it down to 2, and then I done my 2 thumbnails. This is all exactly the same as what we've been doing in class before. The only difference is you've never had to do your own research. We've never done it with a graph or a chart. But I'm hoping now that I've broken it down, it's a little bit more clear for you.